a very good debate that we're having about young people and the young people strategy around justice and so forth. And I think sometimes young people are maligned, they can be marginalised in relation to society. So it's important that we kind of give them confidence and give them kind of credit in relation to their kind of age group. And I think the most important thing to me is when young people, if they do engage with activity that they shouldn't be, is diverting them away from the criminal justice system. And there is obviously the Garda kind of diversion projects are very, very, very good. I have kind of first-hand experience in relation to that project, and it's very, very, it's a very good project that takes people away from things that they shouldn't be doing, because what you don't want is young people getting into a career of criminality. And there's obviously really good things about late night leagues, football leagues, and they're very, very good. They're a kind of good tool to engage young people in working class communities. I just want to touch on a number of things. I think we can talk about, you know, kind of youth work in relation to, without kind of talking about the cuts that happened since 15 years ago in relation to austerity. I mean, funding has been catching up in relation to youth work across the state, and is still catching up in that aspect. And you know, if you don't have funding in relation to engaging with young people, then you're going to have voids and kind of resources issues. Just my kind of substantial contribution is around this document, let's kind of call it a minister, and I think it's a really, really good document. It's about consultation with young people for the Citizen Assembly on drug use, and it kind of states a number of very, very kind of important issues that young people are thinking about and want to engage with. And there's a number of very, very important issues how young people are affected by drug use, or you know, the harms of drugs and so forth. And as I said, my first-hand experience is that when young people do engage with kind of criminal gangs, it's a very, very dark kind of cul-de-sac to go down, because there's some very, very unscrupulous people that will use young people into drug dealing and so forth. But the main kind of the points that the document says in relation to the Citizens Assembly on drugs is around treatment and support. A key issue is around the non-judgmental harm reduction, legal reform, education and awareness, and around kind of the aspects of what drugs does to the individual of young people, but also the communities and families. And I think it's very, very important, and I think it's actually a way ahead of actually government policy in relation to how we actually deal with people around kind of in communities that have been kind of blighted by drug use. So I think that kind of document is, I think, it's very, very important when we think about the whole kind of whole context of drug use in this country, because young people are deeply affected, whether it's irrelevant whether you take drugs or not, but they're deeply affected by kind of, you know, that peer group that has been that drugs are in their community. And I think this document, and I think if people can get you know, a chance to read it, even the first 6 or 7 pages, it really gives an insight on how kind of young people are thinking and have kind of, I suppose, an outlook on this issue that you know, they're sometimes forgotten about. But Minister, I think the main thing is that we have to look after our young people. We have to kind of big them up. We don't need to malign them, because obviously there's a whole, all sort of kind of, I suppose, bad kind of vibe sometimes on social media. It can really kind of play on people's minds, particularly young people's mind, that they're associated with antisocial behaviour. I hate that label. I hate it with a passion, that young people are associated with antisocial behaviour because they hang around the corner. We all hung around corners, you know. We all done that. But then there's a label, or they're engaged with antisocial behaviour. I mean, if you hear that, I mean, obviously, what does that kind of do to somebody's kind of thinking? So I think we got to be very careful with terminology, how we kind of treat young people, and listen to them. I think we have to, you know, this is really important that we listen to young people, because sometimes, again, their voice is not heard. But I think, particularly around the Citizens Assembly on drug use, I think their their kind of contribution and their say in this document is really, really important in relation to that, that recommendation that we'll get at the end of the year. Thank you.